back to my channel, The Crafty Creole. This is going to be lesson 2 of our beginners sewing series, and this is Fabrics 101, a crash course in textiles. The reason I felt it so important to do a brief video on fabrics before we get started into our group projects is because it's just so important that you have at least a basic understanding of fabric, right? Because you would be surprised at how many people actually don't know the difference between knit and woven fabrics. And that's just the basics. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. And if you find this video to be helpful, make sure you remember to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Okay, so what is a textile? It's actually any flexible material made by weaving, braiding, or knitting a fiber. What is a fiber? Well, there's natural fibers like wool, cotton, silk, alpaca, hemp, to name a few. And there's synthetic fibers like nylon, spandex, polyester, acetate, right? These also can come as woven or knitted. So before we go any further, let's just look at the difference between woven and knitted. I'm going to start with the woven fabric. This is a cute Disney fabric that I used this year. And here's something you can do with a woven fabric that you can't do with the knitted fabric. I'm going to make a little snip and pull. You can't do that with knit, right? And if you just pull one of the fibers out, you can see one of the threads that has been weaved in. That's a woven fabric, okay? And this was 100% cotton. Love cotton, love working with cotton as well as denim and some twills. Now, here's a knit. If I were to snip this knit and pull on it, it's not gonna rip very easily. It would take a lot. The best way to cut knit is to simply cut it with scissors or a nice sharp blade, right? And check out the stretch. You get a lot of stretch that way. And if I turn it, you have quite a bit of stretch this way. So this would be considered 4-way stretch knit, which is great for numerous types of projects. But with our woven fabric, it's not stretching much. Only on what's called the bias. You'll get a little ease, and you need that to make your clothing fit properly. Just a little bit of ease. Okay, so that's the difference. Now, cotton can also come as 100% cotton, or it can come as 100% polyester or any other type of synthetic fiber. You can also have cotton blends, blends between natural fibers and synthetic fibers. For instance, like your jeans, stretched jeans would be a combination of cotton, woven, but you'll also have spandex woven into that cotton, and that's what allows your jeans to have a little stretch for that extra stuff in the back you might have or not have. Anyway, you may be asking, does all of this really matter? And I have to say emphatically yes, for several reasons. Fabric determines what type of pattern you choose, how you wash, pre-wash, or don't pre-wash, and what type of needle you use, and that's really important. I do have some examples of needles right here. I thought one escaped. This is an example of a jersey knit needle. You'll want to use this on all of your heavy jersey fabric, and they come in different sizes. Not sure if you can see that, but depending on the weight of your fabric, that determines which needle size you use. I may do a short video on choosing needle size. Okay, and if you're going to use any type of knits, you're also going to want to pick up some ballpoint needles. The tips of these needles are rounded so that when they go through your knitted fabric, it won't snag and pull out. If you use a very sharp or regular sharp pointed needle, it can cause a lot of problems with sewing your knits because it's going to be so pointy that it's going to leave imprints in your knit, and it actually may cause snags as well. So you're going to want to make sure that you use ballpoint. And then we have what's called a universal needle. And these can be used on either knit or cotton fabric. These are pretty handy because you can get tired. I know I get tired of switching out needles often, but yeah, so it's an option. If you want it, it's there. Now, you must pre-wash your fabric. Knits can be the exception to pre-washing, but if you don't pre-wash your knit, then you're going to want to cut that pattern at least one size larger, because you are going to get a lot of shrinkage. And I learned that the hard way. I made a cute outfit that I loved, and after about the third wash, it just didn't fit the same anymore. It shrunk quite a bit. I could still wear it, but just not feeling it anymore. Woven fabrics, you should absolutely always wash. Now, just for a recap on the difference between woven fabrics and knitted fabrics. When you think woven fabrics, think basket weaving. You have fibers going this way vertically, and you have fibers going this way horizontally, and they are woven in between each other. So think old school loom, like back in the day when people had to weave their own fabric. That is a woven fabric, and of course I showed you the example of being able to rip the fabric without even using scissors. That is woven. Knit, think of knitting with where you have one large ball of yarn, and you have your needles, and you just keep taking from that one ball of yarn, and you're knitting the fabrics and locking them together. Okay, that would be a knit fabric. I do have a few examples of some fabric here that I want to show you. I've already showed you the knit, but I'll just show you this one, which is kind of a lightweight jersey. It would be great for making t-shirts. And as you can see, this one has a good bit of stretch going lengthwise, but this way, not so much. So it's a nice, pretty stable knit here. Also a thing with knits, if you take the selvage and you stretch it, it has a tendency to bend towards the right side. Now this fabric is easy to tell the difference between the right side and the wrong side, but if you have a solid color knit and you're not sure, that is one way of trying it out. This is an example of acetate fabric, and acetate satin at that, which I'm not crazy about, but listen to this. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels on too. But this was really cheap at Walmart, and I picked it up because I was making a Halloween costume, which came out perfectly, I must say so myself. But this is pretty much the only time I would use acetate, and I definitely have a preference for natural fibers, so acetate would not be one of those. Here's another example of satin, and as you can see, we had a satin that was made out of acetate, and here we have a satin that is made out of cotton, and it's a lot smoother. Yeah, and a lot prettier. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with this, but I just picked it up because I find myself using satin a lot, especially as a lining for bonnets and hats. That's perfect for that. And here's just another example of 100% cotton. You can see it's kind of, fibers are coming out already. And I wanted to show you this because it was important that you know what it's going to look like when you go to the fabric store. You're going to want to be looking at the top right here for all the details on your fabric. It will tell you the width of the fabric, and fabric comes in widths of 43 inches and 60 inches. So yeah, that's definitely something that's important that you're going to want to check out when you go to pick up your fabric. I am going to do a separate video on how to read a pattern. Matter of fact, that's our next video, how to read a pattern, so that when you go to the fabric store, you know what type of fabric to look for, what size, what width, basically everything you need to know. Well, creators, that concludes Fabric 101. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends, because that really helps the channel to grow, especially when you watch the videos to the end. If you like the video, that means that YouTube will offer this video to more people when they're looking for information on fabrics. So I'm out. This is Young Rito reminding you that if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.